I think that between Doctor Strange, this movie, and Trolls, I think the entire movie industry just knew that everyone's going to need some happiness during November. They couldn't tell why yet. They just knew we would all need a big pick-me-up around this time of the year.
We just need magic and happiness.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw Trolls as well. We did a post-Geekout reaction for it, but after we left the theater, we were like, we kind of needed that right now. We kind of just needed sparkly creatures singing pop songs. Hi there, everyone. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Geekout reaction for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. For anybody who's new to this channel, the post-Geekout reactions are not reviews. I don't know if I'm going to actually do a review for this. I've got a lot of other stuff I've got to do, and Moana comes out in like 2 days, and I'm definitely doing a review of that. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm doing an actual review of it, but the post-Geekout reactions are just our open and honest thoughts about the thing that we just watched, and that does indeed include full spoilers. So it's just a discussion between the two of us about how we felt about this movie, and that does mean we are going to talk about spoilers. So if you have not seen Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, tune out now. But for everybody else, I really enjoyed this film.
I liked it too.
And I just gotta explain to everybody where I'm coming from. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I mean, like, I like the movies and I like the books, but like, I didn't really like fall in love with them. I didn't get like really into the fandom like everybody else. I was just like, yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, that was a good book. Like, that's how I was. What about you?
Yeah, I was the same way.
So, yeah, like, I wasn't going into this like, oh, yeah, return to the world of Harry Potter. But at the same time, I dig extended universe stuff. Like, anytime that you create a big imaginative world, I love whenever you can go back in there and just kind of explore, like, parts of that world without having to focus on the character that we've been following this whole time. So any kind of like extended universe stuff I always think is cool. And this is one of the best examples I've seen of that. Because this isn't even taking place in like the same time period as the other Harry Potter things.
Like different country, different time period.
Yeah, the only thing tying them together is that the main character we're following this wrote a textbook that Harry reads, which that's insane to me. That it's like, no, that's how big this world is. That we can tell a story just about that. I'm going to have to go ahead and apologize right now, folks. I'm a little bit low energy at the moment because I spent all day at the doctor's office as they pumped me full of chemicals for 6 hours. And boy, are my internal organs tired. So every now and again, I might just have to stop and go. Anywho, yeah, I really did enjoy this film. For anybody out there who has not seen it and still is like, I don't care if you spoil, I just want to watch this. It's basically about this character Newt, who is set back in the 1920s, and he's come to America because he's coming here to set one of his creatures free, which is an actual creature from mythology. It's a thunderbird. It's like these giant four-winged birds that could create thunderstorms. And like, I found it really cool that they actually include real mythological creatures in
Yeah,
there.
so I'm wondering like how much of it is real and how much of it is made up.
Yeah, like, because when I was a kid, I was a huge mythology geek, so that's how I knew some of these, but at the same time, I was looking at a lot of the other ones, like, are they made up, or are they, like, actual things?
Yeah, I was wondering that too, so.
Yeah, and all the creatures are super cool and super imaginative. They were so creative. Like, I was really afraid we were only going to see, like, 4 or 5 of them, but when he got to that point where he actually goes into his suitcase, reveals, it's a whole zoo in there. It's a whole, like, farm, nursery center in there for these animals.
Newt's suitcase puts the TARDIS to shame.
It's basically a TARDIS. It's a TARDIS is what it is. You're right.
It's a TARDIS, but inside is, like, literally an entire zoo with, like, different, like, ecosystems for all these mythological animals. And it's really crazy and wonderful.
I forgot that I thought this while we were watching the movie. But when you say that, there literally came a moment in which this is played by, oh, shoot, what is his name? Stephen Hawking, what's his name? Eddie Redmayne, yes. Sorry, if you've watched this channel for a while, you know I'm horrible with names. It's so interesting that you compare it to the TARDIS, because while I was watching this, I actually had a moment in which I went, it's a shame that Eddie Redmayne is so famous, because if he was less famous, he would make an amazing Doctor Who. Like, he really would. Like, there's a moment in which he just has, like, that. He's this weird blend of both David Tennant and Matt Smith, like the weird quirkiness of both of them rolled into one guy. It was like, that's exactly the character that he's doing right here. Or maybe I just think all quirky British people sound alike. That's not true. But yeah, it's basically him coming to America because he wants to release this Thunderbird into Arizona, which it's so weird to me that he goes back home to the glorious skies of Arizona. Like, he describes it very romantically, and as somebody who's like driven cross country, I'm just saying it's like, man, Arizona is like just a regular state. Like, I've driven through there. It's like, Arizona is just as fine as any other state, but that's the thing. I've driven through there and I'm like, it's a state. It's fine.
I think it's because, like, you live in America, you kind of like...
I think it's both those things. I think that on one hand, it's a British writer writing this, and so she's romanticizing the West the way that many people who don't live here romanticize it. And also, it's back in the 1920s. It was a little bit more, like, wide open and glorious,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, like, it was the 1920s. There were a lot of immigrants coming in and everything, trying to find a new life and stuff,
Which I think they actually captured the feeling of 1920s New York really well. And I've actually been looking forward to this film so much because, as I said, I didn't really get that big into Harry Potter. I thought it was good. I was like, hey, I'm glad everybody else has this. I love, like, old New York stuff. Like, anything from, like, the 1920s to the 1970s. I just think that everything about the history and the settings of this city at that time are so freaking cool. So I was really looking forward to this because of that. And I think that they actually captured, they did for New York at that time what the rest of the Harry Potter franchise did for London when they created, like, the whole wizard side to it and all, like, the secrets behind it. Like, there's a moment in which they go to a speakeasy. And I love that the speakeasy has, like, a living poster that's, like, watching people as they enter, and, like, the little way that they peek out is through the eyes on the poster. But also, like, all the, like, gangsters and such that you see inside the speakeasy. Like, there's an ogre in there, but he's, like, in a suit, like, just drinking vodka. And I was like, man, that is so freaking cool, because you didn't get that in the regular Harry Potter. In the regular Harry Potter, ogres are ogres. I'm sure people are going to correct me and go, well, actually, there were these ogres. As I said, Harry Potter didn't stick with me as much as it did with other people, so I apologize, but it's like, yeah, this really was an imaginative take on that time period in that city. But when he gets here, he ends up running into this guy who wants to be a baker, and he's going to the bank to get a loan, and their suitcases end up getting mixed up, and Newt's suitcase is full of all these mythical creatures, and the guy who's going to the bank, whose name is Kowalski, he ends up opening it up, and these creatures just get out, and they start running around New York City. It's only like 4 that get out.
Yeah.
And as I said, when he said only 4 got out, I was like, man, I was looking forward to seeing all these creatures. But as he and Kowalski, like, form a bond with each other, and he starts trusting Kowalski more, and through a series of unfortunate events, they're forced to, like, team up. And when he takes him down into the suitcase and just shows him, yeah, this is where I keep all the animals, and they go around from animal to animal, I was like, this really is one of the most creative things in this whole film, and it was gorgeous to see that moment. But he also ends up running into this official for the New York Department of Magic. I can't remember the exact name for it, but it was like Magical Something Division USA, and he goes, oh, so you work for Medusa. I was like, that's, again, really freaking brilliant, because it was like MIDUSA was the initials. I was like, that's a great abbreviation, very clever. But she comes in, and she's making it sound like she's some big hotshot there, and she has to, like, cut down on, like, illegal magical activity. But when she gets there, Newt finds out, yeah, no, she used to do that. She's been busted down, and now she just files paperwork in the wand registration division. So it then becomes a story of her palling around with Newt and Kowalski because she kind of wants to get back on top, but also because she wants to expose the threat of this weird, like, cult that's forming up of people, most of whom are orphans, basically just being controlled by this mean old orphanage lady, what do you call people that run orphanages?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's never come up. But it's basically this lady who's like, witches are real. We want to recruit people to our cause to track down the witches. She's trying to restart the witch trials. And so she's trying to... So, man, this is getting complicated. I'll get to some problems I have with the film in a moment. But like she's trying to convince people that they're a threat and they're wrong, while Newt's trying to track down his animals, and it's all just being paired together. And that's as clear as I can explain the plot without just going beat for beat into the plot points. But let's go ahead and get into our thoughts about it. I honestly loved every single thing that had to do with the animals.
Mm-hmm.
They're the real star of it. Like I said, the moment when she actually goes into the suitcase, that's the most amazing moment in this entire film. And you're an animal lover, so
yes.
This thing was like made for you. Because you can really tell from Newt and the way that he's acting, he really cares about these creatures. And I found something really... I found something very interesting when he got to New York, and Tina tells him the breeding of magical creatures has been outlawed in this city, and then she's saying, you don't know much about how things work here in America, and he goes, well, I know you have very backwards rules about muggle-human relations, you can't even be friends with each other. And I was like, this is a very, like, subtle, actually it's not even that subtle, a very, this film is very much a commentary from a British author on American policies, American rules, American relations, and such. And I think that she did a pretty good job of actually turning it into a metaphor dealing with magic.
I guess, but it's like, how exactly open-minded was Britain during the 20s?
I think it was more of, well, that's the thing. Not to get too political, but America has always been way more uptight than it says it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I remember when I was in school and they were teaching us, oh, well, you know, the Pilgrims left to escape persecution, and they told us that because they were trying to teach us, like, oh yeah, Britain was being so strict with them. They were not allowed to do what they wanted. And then when you get older and you actually start researching, it's like, oh, the Pilgrims escaped because they were like burning witches, and they were going freaking nuts with all their rituals, and Britain was like, you gotta get the f*** out. You're killing all of our buzzes over here, man. So yeah, I don't know what Britain was like in the 1920s, I will admit, but I think it was meant to be more of like commentary on even today, the way that Britain is looking over at America. But that's as political as we're getting in all this.
Because that's how political it gets in the movie, and it just like moves on from there, really.
Yeah, although I was kind of hoping that would come back at some point. I'll get to that in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love the relationship between Newt and Kowalski.
I just like Kowalski altogether.
Kowalski is the MVP of this film.
Yeah, he's...
like, you should walk away from it going like, oh, Newt, he's this very inventive guy, and he's very quirky, and he wrote this great book. But it really is kind of like... It really is kind of like Doctor Who. How it's like, yeah, you like the Doctor, but you all have that favorite companion who you're just like, no. That's the real star of the show. In those few seasons when they were on, they were the MVP of the series. Like, that's kind of what it is. Kowalski is that MVP companion.
It's like Kowalski is a muggle or a nomad in American, so here in America, but yeah, so basically a guy with no magic, so he's just like astounded, like confused at first, and once he finds out what's going on, he's excited, he's astounded, he wants to help in some way, even though he doesn't have any magic.
Which, that was something that I actually really enjoyed about this film, is watching how Kowalski kind of like just the life that it breathed into him, because he was talking about how he went to war, and then when he came back, he worked in a canning factory, and it was killing him. Like, when Newt asked him, why do you want to open up a bakery? He literally says, because I'm dying. I'm dying in that canning factory. We're all dying there. Like, he was just like, it sucks the life out of you. And then he gets exposed to something so wonderful and so magical. It's incredible. And he just watches with glee when he walks down there and he just sees all these animals. And he's not like frightened of them. He's actually helping them. He's glad to like work with all these animals. And I was like, oh my god, this is going to be great. Kowalski, this guy who's got this bleak, dreary life, he's going to start raising these animals with him. He's going to help him write his boat. He's going to go over there, he's going to leave America where they don't let non-mages and wizards, actually be friends, and he's going to go to England where that's allowed, and he's going to open his bakery over there because he couldn't get his loan here in America. Let's just go ahead and jump right to the ending with that. Wow. I was getting choked up there at the end.
Yeah, that was like really sad. Like, especially with the Queenie, like the relationship between the two.
We haven't even talked about that, but
like Queenie is what was
Tina's sister.
Tina's like twin sister. She had,
which was great casting.
Yes.
There was a moment right after she got introduced in which her and Tina were staying side by side. And I was looking at trying to find the divide in the blue screen because I was like, clearly this is the same actress, just doing double roles. It's clearly the same actress, and it's just a blue screen effect. And I was like, no, they just picked an actress who was like, no, that's her twin. That is someone who can be identical to her character.
It's like, I love her character too. It's like she's like very upbeat and like friendly and like,
yeah, and she's a telepath. She's a mind reader, and she can't turn it off. It's not like she's invading people's minds. She just constantly hears people's thoughts, and yet she's still very happy about all this, which I think is kind of a positive message. That's like, yeah, she sees inside of people, and she still finds it positive. But when she like gets a crush on Kowalski, who's kind of this dumpy little guy who's like, yeah, there's that, like he says, yeah, there's thousands of guys like me out there, and she says, no, there's not. She's like, you know, it's because inside him is something special because she can see inside him. It's so touching. Yeah, the relationship, I was like, I am not much of a shipper, but I was like, I'll become one for these two characters. Like, I need to see them hook up. They are just so perfect together. But yeah, I was absolutely convinced Kowalski was gonna go to Britain, become like a muggle who's allowed to work in the wizard world so he can be around all this magic all the time. And like he's gonna help with the animals, he's gonna start a bakery over there. So when it got to that moment in which like they just cast like this forget me storm all over the city, which I thought that was a little, I don't want to say Deus Ex Machina, but I was like, that's awfully convenient.
Yeah, but it's like at the same time, how else would you like wipe all their memories?
And they did set it all up. So I'll give it that. But when he was like, I'm gonna walk out there, and Newt's like, I kept you around because you're my friend, because you're a very special person, I was like, wow, I do not mean to keep comparing this to Doctor Who. But it really is like whenever one of the companions has to leave, because very few of the companions are like, nah, I'm good, I've had my adventure. It's typically always someone's like, I don't want you to go. And it's like, yeah, it was that exact moment for me. And you kept thinking, like, at any moment, like, they were going to go, wait, no, I have a solution, or something. It's like, no, he walks out into the storm, and he just forgets it all. And it is such a heavy moment. Like, it just wears on you. Because you're like, you had so many hopes for him. You had so many hopes for what could happen. And you know he's just going back to his life. And he still gets a happy ending, though.
Yes.
Like, they still give him the bakery, and he and Queenie are going to meet up again. But it's one of those rare examples where someone gets the happy ending. They get everything that they could want. And yet you still kind of feel bad because it's like, yeah, but it could have been even better. Like, you could have been in Magic Land. And now you're not even allowed to know it exists.
And that's kind of the reason why I wish this was like a series instead of just a movie.
I kept thinking this would have been an amazing, like, even just like an animated series.
Yeah, like maybe something on like Netflix or something.
I was gonna say like a Netflix series if they could get the budget, or if they need to do an animated thing. Geez, who actually does animated stuff these days aside from Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network?
Disney.
Okay, yeah. I mean, with Gravity Falls, I could actually see this on Disney.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking this, like, sort of reminds me of, like, a combination of Doctor Who and Gravity Falls.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was really touching to me, and I thought it was a great... It might have made me sad, but it's like sometimes that's what a film was trying to do. It's like, yeah, they made that work.
It was bittersweet.
Yeah. But let's get into the one big problem that I had with this film, is the whole subplot. It's not even a subplot because it becomes the main plot.
Yeah.
Of this anti-witch movement, this anti-wizard movement being headed by this crazy orphanage. I hated that. Like, it had decent enough moments, but every time it cut to that, I was like, no, that's cool. We don't need that. We're good. Like, I don't want to say hate because it seems harsh, but yeah, I really did not like that part because, A, I'm here for the Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. This really feels tacked on because then it starts getting into, like, political stuff. It starts getting into, like, this evil wizard who's trying to expose the wizard world, which is a cool idea, but this is all set in the 1920s, so you know he doesn't succeed. So it's like, I'm not saying don't create a villain, but if you're going to create a villain whose entire idea is to expose wizards, and you're going to set it 80 years before the other films where we know wizards aren't exposed, we already know there's no real threat there. But yeah, so it starts getting into that, and I was like, there's some good stuff that they cover because of that story, but you could so easily have just taken it out and then shifted it over to the animals, because what it is that there's, like I said, there's the orphanage with the lady who's like, she's beating all the orphans and she's got this anti-wizard movement going. I found the lady running the orphanage to just be like, I found her to just kind of be despisable, and I don't mean as a character, I just meant like, I don't mean despisable as in like, oh, she's such an evil character. I mean that whenever she was on screen, she was just like, oh, you don't understand, the wizards are evil, and they're like, just the way she talked, I was like, this is grating on me. Like, it's not that I find you to be a terrible character, I just really don't want to see you on screen. And I hate saying that because it makes it sound so mean to the actress herself. But it was just like, this is just, everybody else in here feels like such an energetic and interesting character. And even when you go back to the villains in the other Harry Potter films, like, they had like life to them. She was so nothing, I found.
I wonder if that's like the whole point.
It could have been, but if it was the point, it was a bad point. And like, everybody else in the orphanage, I felt the same way. Like, there's a little girl who keeps, all she does is just hop around and say this,
hopscotch. And
yeah, like she does this hopscotch in which she repeats this nursery rhyme. 1 witch, 2 witch, dead witch, 4 witch, like something like that. And I'm like, this is literally like nails on chalkboard to me. Like, every time she was talking, I was like, this is painful to listen to. And there's a guy who's the oldest orphan there, and he just is constantly curled up, and he's very reserved. And I know it's because he's getting beaten by her, and I also know that's because, spoiler alert, this whole thing is spoiler alert. Why am I saying that?
Even more spoilers.
Yeah, but it's like, there's this secret of, okay, someone at the orphanage is secretly a wizard, and they've been repressing their powers, and when wizards repress their powers, it forms this giant, dark, evil shroud that goes out and attacks people. And so, Colin Farrell's character of Graves, who works at the Ministry of Magic, he's investigating, and he's talking to the very reserved older orphan and saying to him, like, okay, listen, I know that there is a wizard in there. You gotta help me find them. It was obvious to me, like, real quick. It's like, okay, the moment in which they said, like, these evil spirits are created when wizards are repressed and they try and tap down all their magical power, I was like, wow, who have we seen at the orphanage who is super repressed and is super tapping everything down? Like, that became so obvious to me. And, like, after that became obvious, I was like, dude, you are playing it way, way too much. Like, you are such an exaggeration of who this character should be. And it's because you're such an exaggeration, like I said, I figured it out easily that that's what he was going to be. So yeah, everybody at the orphanage, just drove me nuts. And it gets revealed later on that Graves is actually that evil wizard guy that you saw for a quarter of a second in the newspapers at the beginning, who has been trying to expose the wizard world to the muggle world. And, which, by the way, it's Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Like, they do a spell on him of revelations, and then all of a sudden his hair turns blonde, his face turns totally white, and he gets some, like, one weird eye contact, and he turns from Colin Farrell into Johnny Depp. And I was like,
yep.
Wow, Johnny Depp will just come running the moment you open up a makeup bag. Like, the moment that you go, if you call up Johnny Depp and go, yeah, we want you to be in this film, we'll pay you this much. Nah, I'm busy. I'm not really interested in doing that anymore. Just have the sound of you opening up a costume trunk, and he will come running. That's all it takes. Like, he probably showed up looking like that, and they just didn't even care. And they were like, all right, well, we were just gonna have you be Johnny Depp, but whatever. But yeah, he's in there for like a quarter of a second there at the end when it's revealed, and I was like, I'm cool with not seeing this guy ever again. Like, the moment that, like, don't get me wrong, Johnny Depp is an amazing actor, but I'm done seeing him in goofy makeup. I can't see it anymore. So I don't need to see him in future movies in the Harry Potter world. But, God, I can't remember what I was saying. But, yeah, so anyway, it's revealed that Graves was trying to use the evil spirit in this boy to wreak havoc on all New York, so that way it would reveal wizards to the world. That was his plan. And after I got done, I was done watching this, I was like, you could literally have taken all that out. Like, everything with the orphanage that's trying to expose wizards, take all that out. Get it all out of there. Have there be a creature that is wreaking havoc in New York. Some magical creature. And then, which is what this begins with, and it turns out that that magical creature is that evil spirit thing. Then have Newt come in here, his creatures get loose, he's trying to track them down, but then they find out that some magical creature is killing people, and Newt's like, that can't be one of my creatures. And then it turns out that it's a creature that Graves has had locked up, and then you could have Newt come in there and try and tame that creature. That could be the big climax. Rather than some big wizard battle against an evil specter, it's Newt having to calm down this really like beaten creature that has just been tormented until it's a monster, and Newt has to win it over. And also you'd have Graves look at all the magical things and go, well, if anybody finds out about me, I can then blame it on him. Or when the case actually gets like taken into possession at the Magical Institute, Graves could go in there and like actually see Graves go in there with all the animals, and he starts scheming of how he could use them, and he starts releasing even more of them out there into the city, and Newt has to then find a way to collect them all together at once. Basically you could have had Graves' storyline be exactly the same. The big threat of wizards being revealed be exactly the same. And instead, and you could take the wizard hating orphanage out of this completely, and you could tie it all back into the idea of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, and you could tie it all into the Newt story. But also, as I said at the beginning of this, in which what's her face, Tina says, the breeding of magical animals is outlawed here in America. You could go into a bit more about the prejudices that the Americans have against the magical animals, and at the end of it, Newt is able to make them see, they're not bad. There's no such thing as a bad animal, just bad owners who have used them for bad things. And he actually starts to convince them, maybe we should change our ways. Like, listen, I'm not coming in here and saying, you should have made the film that I wanted to see. I'm coming in here and saying, no, there is a very clear, easy way to make a much more streamlined film that focuses on the subject at hand of the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and you wouldn't have to change this film much. In fact, you could have gotten rid of the one thing that is a huge problem in this whole film, and it would have made it better. And it sort of ended the exact same way. Yeah, it's very frustrating in that regard, because it's not like I sat down and went, let me write out what I want this to be. I was watching this as it happened going, why are you doing this? The obvious answer is this. I don't know, maybe that's just me. How do you feel about the whole evil wizard school thing?
I kind of felt it was overdone, but when you mentioned you wanted a climax with Newt calming down the beast, there was something like that in the.
They do kind of do something like that with him talking to the boy.
Yeah, and I was hoping that would solve everything, but then Graves comes along and f***s everything up.
Which I will admit it was shocking to see the wizard actually murder the kid. I was did not expect you to go there. Did not. So I will give him that. That was surprising. But at the same time, I'm this is a separate film to me. The whole anti-witches movement.
Right.
That's a whole other film in and of itself that has nothing to do with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I was thinking maybe it'd be more an anti-beast thing, and that's why they.
You could have done that, and then it wouldn't have been it could also have been something within the wizard world.
Right.
And he has to actually convince them. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Like I said, I really think they should have just taken that out, and there's a very obvious way to still have Graves have the exact same motivation, still carry out the exact same plan, still have the exact same revelation at the end, and instead you just stick with the whole Fantastic Beast thing, and you focus on that even more, and then at the end, Newt actually is able to like start addressing the problem of like, you know, the way that these beasts are treated and the prejudices that people have against these beasts. Yeah, so it just seemed like a total missed opportunity there to me. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, like I said, that was really the only one problem I had. It's just that that's a pretty big problem because it's not like it's even a B plot. It becomes the A plot. Mm-hmm. The Fantastic Beast becomes the B plot. But yeah, I still loved all these characters. Mm-hmm. I still think the writing was witty. I still loved all the creatures.
Oh yeah.
We haven't even really talked about them much, but like the little tiny like platypus-looking guy, like little,
I think it was like an echidna.
Echidna, yeah, it looks like an echidna, and it just like steals anything shiny and shoves it into like an infinite pouch in its belly. Mm-hmm. I was like, that thing was adorable. Yeah, and like I said, Kowalski, Queenie, Newt, Tina, like they're an amazing group of
like
people.
Those four characters and the animals, they absolutely made the film worth it despite its flaws and stuff.
I was really hoping that I'd be able to say Colin Farrell in there as well. Colin Farrell has got cursed. Colin Farrell has only 3 types of performances. He's either in a good film where he's totally forgettable, he's in a horrible film where he's really trying, or he's in a great film and he does a great job and no one sees it and no one remembers it. And sadly, this is one of those like, this is a really good film. I will not remember Colin Farrell 2 months from now in this movie, which is a shame. I don't like that guy. Still can't get over Johnny Depp was there at the end. Like, I literally...
It's like the big Scooby-Doo reveal.
It really was. Now let's find out who you really are.
Johnny
Jack Sparrow. I tried to think of one of his characters and I was like, oh god, pirate name, oh, okay. But no, when I realized it was Johnny Depp, I almost wanted to stand up and go, oh, you. Because, yeah, I really was just like, for real, man? It's just like, Johnny Depp, can you not just put on makeup for a thing for once? Because he'd be an amazing actor to throw into the Harry Potter world. But just, God.
It's just like too much makeup and he didn't really do anything. He was just like there for the reveal and that's it. They locked him away.
Well, I think they're setting him up for a sequel of some kind. And it's like, I don't know.
Do you really think there's going to be a sequel?
I would be shocked if they did. Maybe not Fantastic Beast. But I'm talking like there's definitely going to be more Harry Potter films. So when I say setting him up for a sequel, I mean there's going to be like a cop who has to investigate like some wizard criminal and he has to go for like a Silence of the Lambs, go to like the prison and get help from someone, and then you've got Johnny Depp's character like
so basically like a continuation of the Potter universe.
Yeah, there's going to be other things set in the Potter universe, and I think that they basically wanted to go, we need him here so that he can be in future films to tie all this together. He's going to be the Samuel Jackson of these things. You think you're the only wizard out there? But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It just has one big frustrating thing to me. I'd give it a B+. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Yeah, okay. B+.
But yeah, so if you guys have seen this film, let us know in the comments down below how you felt about it. And remember, if you want to see future post-Geekout reactions, which are just conversations between us about the things that we've seen, then make sure that you click that subscribe. But also, if you want to see more professional looking stuff from me, like actual reviews where I write down a script and I actually sit down to make sure not to give any spoilers away. Like I said, I got one from Moana coming up, so make sure you hit the subscribe for that as well. But for now, I'm just going to say thanks for watching, everybody. Come back next time.
Bye.
Bye.